Hey, thanks for sticking with us. This is Porter Davis again, hosting Let the Taxpayers Decide. I'm here with Ken Warner today, who is the Vice Chair of the Oklahoma County Republican Party. He's also running for House District 96, the seat that will be vacated soon after the current Representative Lewis Moore terms out. So we're going to find out about that, and then we're going to talk about some other issues that are happening. But first, Ken, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, be glad to. Retired businessman, worked for SBC slash now AT&T for 30 years, and in executive positions for the most part. Obviously worked my way up. So that's my background is telecommunications, business, and of course I did did things with contracts and lots of other things. So I do have a pretty good skill set in terms of how to handle all that. I'm a veteran, constitutional conservative, so those things are obviously important to me. I also believe in traditional family values. I believe in the right to life, very strong about that. I'm really for limited government, lower taxes. I believe in integrity in government. I believe in hard work in government. I also really want to work on improving education in Oklahoma, definitely more spending in the classroom, and I really want some really must-needed changes to criminal justice reform. There's just a lot of things that we need to fix in that arena also. So those are just some of the ideas that kind of trouble me right now, and then things that I want to work on when I'm elected. Of course, right now for me, one of the things that's probably more important than that is when I start knocking doors and talking to people within HD 96 will be I want to know what they're concerned about, because my concerns need to be their concerns, whether it's Edmond, Arcadia, Luther, Hera, Choctaw, whatever, any of those cities that are in my district. I definitely want to fill the needs of what those people want. So that's where really what I'm coming from. And then from the vice chair position, it's just continuing to improve the Oklahoma County Party. We've got to do a better job of recruiting people, of getting Republicans out to vote. That's going to be a big, the Go TV, get out the vote piece of it will be important, as well as all the things you're doing with grassroots. So those things are very near and dear to my heart as a Republican. So.
Well, that's near and dear to my heart. How long have you been doing political things, Ken?
Well, I mean, I've done it off and on a little bit for most of my life, but not seriously as I got into it. Back in 2015, my wife and I, Maggie, got really involved in the Trump campaign. We started here with a gentleman named Ben Keel, and we started making phone calls in Oklahoma as well as I think Georgia and New Mexico, and gosh, I don't remember who all now. And so, but obviously Oklahoma being a red state, they transferred Ben up to Colorado, and I answered the phone one cold winter day, and lo and behold, it was Ben Keel, and he basically asked me if Maggie and I would come to Colorado, and so we had a short chat, and about 4 days later, we jumped in the car and off we went to Greeley, Colorado. So we campaigned for Trump about the last 5 weeks of that cycle in Colorado. That was really fun.
So what were you doing up there?
Maggie, she did a lot of the recruiting, got people to come into the office to help out, doing all sorts of things, primarily phone calls. I did the phone training because obviously with a telecommunications background, that was easy for me to do because I know a lot about it. And so she got them in the office and I trained them. We had everybody that you can imagine in there. It's that part of Colorado is reasonably conservative. Probably not the university area right there, but the rest of it is. So I even had 10-year-olds coming in making phone calls. So it got me excited. Then when it was over, and of course we all know the results, President Trump won, and then we came back. And then once we got back to Oklahoma, there wasn't any reason that we could find that we weren't going to really get involved. And then because of what we did, we were issued invitations to the inauguration, and we got to go to the balls and all the things that come with being able to do that. So that really probably fired me up a little bit more. And then as we kept getting more involved, Pam Pollard then was the chair of the party, and so we helped Pam on varying different things, victory parties here after the election and so forth. And then as we begin to work on, and because I'd been to the inauguration, because I'd been so involved with the Republican Party, I knew then that I really wanted to, at some point, to make a run at going to the convention, to be a delegate to the convention. That got me excited, and then I realized there was going to be, that our Pam was leaving, obviously, so there was going to be a new state chair, and the gentleman that was the county chair at the time was going to run for state chair. So Evelyn McCoy, who's now our county chair, was going to run for that unopposed, and so I decided I'd throw my feet in the fire and run for vice chair. So I did that, and fortunately was elected. So it just kept going as I got more involved, and I realized that my house district, I'm an Eastern Oklahoma County resident, so I live in East Edmond. So as I knew Lewis was going to be, Lewis Moore was going to be terming out, and Lewis and I have talked many times, and so my wife and I prayed about it, and we made the decision that I would run for House District 96. So I'm vice chair and running for House District 96.
Wow, that's quite an introduction, but I can certainly relate to it. Now, so you're running for the state house. What do you think needs to be done to improve things out there?
Well,
or for the state,
Right.
It might be better to talk about some of the issues you're passionate about and that you want to work on when you go out there.
well, one thing, as I talked about early on, was the fact that we have to improve education in Oklahoma. I just keep seeing things and hearing things. These short weeks, 4 days in the classroom. Number one, that's not good for students first and foremost. Number two, it's not good for business, because if you're going to attract business in our state, your education has to be of good quality. And right now we're not there. And I know what Governor Stitt has said. We want to be a top 10 state, and I think there are ways we can get there. It's just going to take some time. There's a new Senate bill out there. I believe it's 441 that Brenda Stanley is backing, and it's going to. I believe if I heard her right, you have to spend a minimum of 165 days in the classroom, which I think is great. And I think we also need to expand what's going on in the classroom. There's things we're teaching now that, quite frankly, don't need to be taught to young children. I think it needs to be more civics. I think we need to get back to the basics, which reading, writing, and arithmetic. Those things are really important, and right now they're sometimes not even being featured. I talked to Senator Stanley the other day in a meeting, and she discussed the fact that, when she was mentoring some college seniors that were coming out to begin their student teaching, she had them write a paper. And they wrote the paper, and they submitted these papers to her, and their grammar was so bad that she made them rewrite them. And it's kind of scary to think that you've got college seniors that can't write some sort of a paper to Brenda. And although Senator Stanley is a 30-year educator, so I'm sure she knows exactly what she's talking about and what she's doing. And so that just doesn't sit well with me, the fact that you're 21, 22 years old, graduating from college with a degree, and you're going to go out and supposedly become an educator, and you can't even write a correct grammar paper. That's kind of scary to me.
That's nuts for a senior.
Yes.
Well, it's as nuts as having remedial math in colleges.
Right.
Why would you go to college and take remedial math or remedial English? That makes no sense that you'd even been going to college if you needed those things. But what kinds of things do you think that we should do to improve Oklahoma education? Should we give the teachers a big pay increase? Will that fix it?
I don't think it's pay, because when you look at the amount of people right now, and I don't have all the statistics on this, and I apologize for that, but it appears that there are less and less college graduates in Oklahoma that are graduating to become teachers. That number is my understanding is drastically going down. Well, that's kind of scary, because I think we just recertified, I believe, 1,600 people, that don't have teaching degrees to teach. And I'm not trying to say that these people that are getting these certifications can't teach, because they're smart people. But what they don't know is, like, how to manage a classroom and how to do curriculum. All those kinds of things are things I don't believe they know how to do or aren't taught to do. I mean, I certainly was never taught that. I can certainly teach, because I've done it. I did it at Southwestern Bell, SBC, AT&T, so I can certainly handle that piece. But those are some of the things that they just have to get fixed.
It's not inconceivable that you could go to a vo-tech school or someplace if you had training in whatever skills needed to be taught and take 2 or 3 classes on just those things you're talking about and get that hammered out in the equivalent of 1 semester. I mean, why do you need to have an education degree to teach history? I mean, if you need to learn techniques for teaching, learn the psychology and so forth, you don't need an extra 2 or 3 years of education to get that. I mean, I've had 8 years of college. Okay, so I know how that game's played. I got 2 degrees, did graduate work, and my advice to people that are considering college today is, number one, to figure out if you need a college degree for what you want to do. And if you do, then go get it the quickest, cheapest way to get what you need, so you can, as quickly as you can, get where you can mentor with somebody that can teach you what you really want to do. I mean, these methods that we have for educating, frankly, are based on the kinds of technology we had 200 and 300 and 400 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, today we can learn we can learn without having to spend so much time sitting in what's basically a minimum security institution. But that's another story. We're going to take a break right now and be right back.